Hey guys, what's going on, and welcome to Guns N' Roses Central, and it's Monday morning, which means it's time to talk about this week's Guns N' Roses news. Now, before I start with the news, I forgot to mention last week that the video I did a couple weeks ago for those Guns N' Roses lapel pins, the Izzy Stradlin one from the Live and Let Die video, and then the Axl Rose shoe, those guys who make those lapel pins actually have an Instagram page. So the company's name is CollarPop. I've linked to it down below. And I've also linked to the website if you guys want to go purchase any of the lapel pins. I personally love them and I wear them all the time. So go support a great company and go check them out. And let's get started with this week's news. So Guns N' Roses were playing Las Vegas Friday night, and there was rumors that Matt Sorum was going to join them because he was in Vegas at the same time, but unfortunately that wasn't the case. But DJ Ashba did actually make an appearance at the concert. He was in the audience somewhere, and he just had some complimentary things to say about how great the band sounded. Earlier this week, Guns N' Roses also played a show in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and they brought out Foo Fighters frontman Dave Grohl. So Dave Grohl performed Paradise City with the band. I've linked to the video down below if you guys want to go check it out. It was really a surreal moment. He just happened to be in the neighborhood, and with Foo Fighters also on tour, I'm sure there's going to be places where they cross paths. And Dave Grohl even went and hugged Axl Rose, and it seemed like a great show, and Paradise City sounded really good, so go check it out. Let's go into our next piece of news. That wasn't the only special guest appearance this week. So Guns N' Roses played Houston, Texas, and they brought out ZZ Top's Billy Gibbons on stage to perform Patience with the band. Now, it seemed like they hadn't really rehearsed it, and Billy seemed kind of lost in terms of, what he should be playing, but nonetheless, it's still nice to see Guns N' Roses actually bringing guests on the actual tour and changing things up a bit. So we also had an interview with the band The Darkness, who opened some shows for Guns N' Roses in Europe. And they talked about opening for Guns N' Roses. So the interviewer asked, "You recently opened for Guns N' Roses over in Italy. How was that?" They said, "We headlined a lot of festivals across Europe this year, and we were out in Australia, but the highlight was probably playing Imola racetrack with Guns N' Roses. It was a beautiful day. It was around 30 degrees, and our dressing room was just above the racetrack, so we had a perfect view of the fans coming into the show. We basically watched 130,000 people walk past our dressing room." They also said, "What can I say? What a day, what an experience, and a real celebration of Guns N' Roses. What was interesting was just seeing how young the audience was. People will constantly tell you that rock is dead, but rock isn't dead, and it isn't going to die. We just need more young rock bands that are actually good." So we have some Izzy news as well. So it looks like somebody is selling Izzy Stradlin's car. So this is a photo of the car, and this is the actual certificate of title. So it says Jeffrey Dean Isabel from Lafayette, Indiana. So I'm not really sure how somebody was able to find this online, but it showed up on one of the Guns N' Roses groups. So we also want to extend a huge congratulations to Guns N' Roses. So earlier this week, they won the Top Tour / Top Draw Award at the Billboard's Touring Awards. So Guns N' Roses won the award at the conference in Los Angeles Tuesday night, which was November 15th. The band's Not in This Lifetime tour was the winner in the Top Tour Top Draw category, besting U2 and Coldplay. So the group was also up for the Top Box Score Award, which went to U2. So if you guys want to see the whole article, I've linked to it down below. If you guys remember, Guns N' Roses were nominated for some Billboard awards last year, but unfortunately they didn't win any of the awards. So there's also a really good write-up on LA Weekly talking about the one band from Finland that inspired the entire Sunset Strip hair metal scene, including Guns N' Roses. And of course that band is Hanoi Rocks. So if you guys want to go check it out, I saw that Vicky Hamilton had originally posted this on Facebook, so go check it out, guys. I love some of the stuff that LA Weekly's been putting out, and it's definitely worth a read. So for you Buckethead and Brain fans, Buckethead and Brain actually played a show September of this year. And this is around the time the news came out that Buckethead has a heart condition, and he still pulled off a 2-hour show, which is amazing. So they played at the Fox Theater. I've linked to it down below. So this was a show from Boulder, Colorado. So while there may not be any new music being released by Guns N' Roses in the foreseeable future, we do have Duff McKagan releasing a new album with his band Walking Papers. So it features Duff McKagan, Jefferson Angel, Benjamin Anderson, and Barrett Martin. It was announced that they're going to be releasing their sophomore album WP2 on January 19th, 2018. So it's a Seattle-based band, and they actually released one song called Death on the Lips, which I've linked to down below. So according to the press release that went out, it says the record has exceeded my expectations of what I thought that might be, says Jefferson Angel. It perfectly captures the raw, explosive energy of a band primed from extended touring, while at the same time achieving the polish and elevation that comes from experimenting in the studio. So WP2 is the follow-up to their 2013 critically acclaimed debut album that Rolling Stone called dark, alternatively sensual, and sinister. USA Today said, "Sometimes an album sounds nothing like you'd expect, yet it still blows you away. It's powerful yet nuanced, a kind of raw confident enough in itself that it rarely needs to force itself to make a point." Consequence of Sound also said it's a record that largely eschews typical hard rock fare, opting instead for a blues rock that sinks and wafts as much as it crunches and blusters. So the unlikely dynamic making Walking Papers a pink slip you'll actually be happy to get, and VH1 described the band's sound as weathered, bluesy, and broken in by years of experience. This is hard rock as made by grown-ass men with stories to tell and no one to please but themselves. So Walking Papers is happier than a tornado in a trailer park to have their second record see the light of day via Loud and Proud Records, says Angel. It's been white-knuckled nail-biter since the conception, and we are pleased to have Tom and Madeline behind the wheel as we make our way to the delivery room. So Walking Papers is also launching a Pledge Music campaign for pre-orders today, and their fans will be able to find exclusive offers for merchandise, unique items, and experiences with the band. So I've linked to that article if you guys want to go check it out. I have to be honest, I never listened to the first Walking Papers album, but given the reviews I just read, I should maybe go check it out. Let me know if you guys are fans of the Walking Papers. We've also got some news from the Foo Fighters, who talked a bit about Guns N' Roses and Nirvana. So their drummer Taylor Hawkins and their guitar player Pat Smear discussed the state of rock in a new Fuse interview, and Alternative Nation transcribed their comments. So Hawkins said, "I think there's some good stuff out there, but you really have to go hunt for it. When I was in high school, Guns N' Roses were the biggest band in the world and the biggest thing on the radio. Obviously, that's not the kind of thing that's happening right now. I always like to think that there's a Kurt Cobain somewhere in his parents' basement, hating his parents, hating the world, getting ready to rewrite rock and roll with a guitar, bass, and drum set. Because I love rock and roll and I like the feel, I know we both do, and our band in general, we like a human feel to music. I feel, no pun intended, that's kind of missing a lot. It just so happens right now that hip-hop and sort of throwaway pop music, I call it throwaway pop music, my kids wouldn't, but I do, it just happens to be at the top of the charts for the most part, except for a couple weeks ago when we had the #1 record." Pat Smear added, "I don't remember where it was, in the US or somewhere, but I remember because everyone asks us, is rock dead? Are you keeping rock alive? And our album went to #1 somewhere. There was one place in particular where the top 3 albums were all rock albums. I was like, what happened to rock? Is it dead?" Hawkins even said there's a saying that since the late 90s, I mean, I remember doing the interviews for There's Nothing Left to Lose. Some German guy said, "So why do you guys still play rock music? You know it's a dead form of art. You know it's dance music now, correct? You don't know that. You guys play dead form of music." We're like, well, it's not dead at our shows. It's alive and well. Like I said, hopefully there's some genius pissed off at the world ready to take it all up again. So we also had a little mention of a Guns N' Roses collaborator. So there's an article on Alternative Nation about a picture that surfaced of Chris Cornell making out with Taz Bentley. Now, if you guys don't know who Taz Bentley is, Taz Bentley has recorded with Guns N' Roses former member Izzy Stradlin and Duff McKagan, and he's played on a lot of different Izzy records over the years as well. So Matt Sorum actually retweeted one of my videos, so I want to thank Vinny for actually tweeting to Matt Sorum. It was an interview that Velvet Revolver did with Headbangers Ball back in 2004, and then Matt Sorum actually retweeted it, which is pretty awesome. So with Izzy Stradlin tweeting a couple weekends ago, I forgot to mention in my last video, but he just tweeted out a bunch of different music videos that he likes or songs that he likes on YouTube. And these are some of the songs that he actually tweeted out. And he said he's going to be doing the same thing in December. So you guys stay tuned. The previous time he announced which weekend he was going to be doing it. So I will let you guys know, and Izzy will be tweeting again. So he said, "Thank you to everyone for all the cool music video posts. Some great stuff. I'll be back in December with some more vids to share. Cheers." So even Matt Sorum retweeted some of the videos that he had tweeted out that one weekend. So this was a rather interesting news story. So according to the Twin Cities Pioneer Press, there was a story about 249 ghosts who worked security at a Guns N' Roses show. Investigators raised billing questions at Viking Stadium. So investigators are looking into whether the ousted security firm that worked the US Bank Stadium for its first year of operation overbilled for hours that were never worked by security workers who were never there. So Monterey Security, a Chicago-based firm, handled security for the first 14 months of the new Viking Stadium, more than 600 events and around-the-clock building security, until it was fired in September after 2 investigations found a host of alleged problems, among them improperly training staff, not subjecting the staff to state-mandated criminal background checks, and employing workers, including a convicted extortionist with criminal past that bar them from working security in Minnesota, and potential overbilling, double billing, and ghost payrolling, charging for workers who didn't actually work. Among the findings from one of the investigators is that Monterey had employed highly questionable billing practices, including invoicing and getting paid for workers who were previously terminated from the company, as well as workers whose names were listed twice and whose hours billed amounted to more than 24 hours in a single day. And talking about the specific Guns N' Roses show, so on July 30th, Guns N' Roses delivered a 3-hour show at a nearly filled US Bank Stadium. 200 employees listed by Monterey as having worked the show were listed by the company as terminated in other documents. Moreover, 49 apparent current Monterey employees appeared twice, or in one case 3 times, on the Guns N' Roses event roster. According to the report, some of the duplicated employees purportedly worked more than 24 hours in a single day. So the total payroll Monterey billed for these 249 workers amounted to about a third of the total security cost of the concert, the report said. So if you guys want to read the entire thing, I've linked to it down below. Now Monterey, in its defense, which is owned by a former Chicago police officer, said it was all an honest mistake and it was a software issue. So they had submitted revised rosters for the Guns N' Roses concert, but apparently the investigator says it doesn't add up. So go check out the article, guys. That does it for this week's news. Thanks for watching. Be sure to hit the like button and be sure to subscribe if you love Guns N' Roses as much as I do. Take care.